girls, it's Miss Davis here. This is our last lesson with Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. We are going to reread this book, Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. It's a fiction book because the author made it up in her imagination. So we're going to learn 2 new words and then review our 2 words from lesson 1 and 2 words from lesson 2. This word is gobble. Repeat. When you gobble something up, you eat it fast. This boy is gobbling up some juicy watermelon. Imagine your mom serves watermelon that you gobble up. Say, I gobbled it up. Let's do it together. I gobbled it up. And I would gobble up watermelon. I love watermelon. This next one is victory. Repeat. When you have a victory, it means you worked very hard to win something. The boy in the red shirt had a victory because he ran as fast as he could to win. Imagine you won a big race. Raise your hands in the air and say, victory, victory, victory. Your turn. Victory, victory, victory. Awesome. All right, our words from lesson 1. This is nibble. Repeat. When you nibble food, you bite off a small piece as you eat it. This girl is nibbling her corn on a cob. This word is furious. Repeat. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry. When you're furious, you are very, very mad. Oh no, something has upset this girl and now she's furious. This word is outsmart. Repeat. When you outsmart someone, you beat them at something because you made smarter choices than they did. The man in the red is raising his hands because he outsmarted his friend and won the video game. This word and last word is enormous. Repeat. Something enormous is very big. This woman is standing next to an enormous tree. All right, boys and girls, as we read today, you're going to listen for our guided questions. So you'll hear all those vocabulary words, and you're going to listen for victory and gobble today, but you're also going to listen hard for our guided question. As we read, I want you to think about this question. What are some things that Mr. McGreeley doesn't understand about bunnies? So as we read, we're going to listen for and think about some things that Mr. McGreeley does not understand about bunnies. Muncha, muncha, muncha. For years, Mr. McGreeley dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty and of growing yummy vegetables and gobbling them all up. Mr. McGreeley wants to grow vegetables and then gobble them up. When you gobble something, you eat it fast. But he never once tried it until this spring, said Mr. McGreeley. This spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. So he hoed and he sowed and he watched his garden grow. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes. Yummy, 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 said Mr. McGreeley. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies. But one night when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Tippy, 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 pat. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning when Mr. McGreeley saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. There, he declared, no bunny can get into my garden now. Do you think it was a good idea for Mr. McGreeley to build a small wire fence? Show me thumbs up for yes or thumbs down for no. Do you think it was a good idea for Mr. McGreeley to build a fence, yes or no? And the sun went down and the moon came up and tippy, 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 pat. Spring hurtled, dash, dash, muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning when Mr. McGreeley saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Humph, he humphed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring hurtle, dash, dash, dash. Muncha, muncha, muncha. Mr. McGreely built a tall wall to keep the bunnies out of his garden, but they got in anyway. How did the bunnies get into his garden? They didn't get over it. How did they get inside? That's right, they dug a hole. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems and his nibbled leaves and his gnawed sprouts, he was really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. Ha! He snorted. Those puff-tails can't get in. They can't get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. So he built the trench so they couldn't dig. Let's see how they get over. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 pat, dive, paddle, splash, 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 dig, scrabble, scratch, 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 spring, hurdle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms and his chewed stems and his nibbled leaves and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. So he hammered and he blocked and he sawed and he stalked and he drilled and he filled and he trapped and he locked and he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden fence, behind the small wire fence, all around the vegetable garden. I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure, he exclaimed. They can't get through it, they can't get under it, and they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now. And the sun went down and the moon came up, and tippy, 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 stop. 3 hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them, and tippy, 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 pat. The bunnies hopped away. Why do you think the author didn't write Muncha, Muncha, Muncha pattern for this page? Why do you think the author didn't write Muncha, Muncha, Muncha pattern on this page? Can you guess? Good. Yeah, that's because they didn't eat anything. He uses Muncha, Muncha, Muncha to tell how the bunnies ate something. The next morning when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. I beat the bunnies, he whooped, and he did a jiggly wiggly victory dance, and he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Ah, sighed Mr. McGreely, at last. Smacking his lips, he picked and he pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, and tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. Mr. McGreely dances a victory dance because he thinks he's finally beaten the bunnies. When you have a victory, it means you work very hard at something and win. Muncha, muncha, muncha. All right, boys and girls, as we listen to this story, we listen for our guided question. What are some things that Mr. McGreely doesn't understand about bunnies? In this story, he didn't know that bunnies can swim. Yeah, he didn't know that bunnies can dig. That's right. The bunnies also climbed up the wall using the water hose. He didn't know in this story that bunnies could do those things. What else did he not know? Maybe he didn't know at the beginning that they came out at night to look for food. Probably thought they were going to come out during the day. But in this story, they came out at night. Boys and girls, you had to make an inference to answer that guided question. When you make an inference, you use clues about your background knowledge and make a smart guess. All right, we're going to review our 2 words for today. This word is victory. Repeat. When you have a victory, it means you worked very hard to win something. The boy in the red shirt had a victory because he ran as fast as he could to win. How do you think it feels to have a victory? How do you think this boy in the red feels that he had a victory, or whenever you had a victory? Yeah, he probably feels really excited. Yeah, he probably feels very proud of himself. Yeah. Those are all things that you can feel when you have had a special victory like that. This word is gobble. Repeat. When you gobble something, you eat it fast. This boy is gobbling up some watermelon. What foods do you like so much that you gobble them up? What are some foods that you like so much that you gobble them up? For me, I love watermelon. I'm going to gobble it up. I also love apples and carrots. What are some things you love, boys and girls? Really? That's awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 3-part series of Muncha, 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 and I hope you learned some new vocabulary words that you can use at home. I love you and miss you dearly. Bye.